Today on The Inner Edge, we're honored to welcome a guest whose work speaks louder than words because it speaks to the soul. Neil Kerman is a renowned artist, philanthropist, and entrepreneur whose vibrant paintings have been displayed across the world, from New York to Israel to India. But beyond the colors and the canvas is a man deeply grounded in giving, in legacy, and in using creativity as a force for good, whether it's through his charitable work, his leadership in the Jewish community, or in his bold expressions of emotion and energy in art. Neil's life is a masterclass in passion, purpose, and perseverance. You're going to love this conversation. We're very fortunate to have Neil Kerman, who is actually flying to Florida very soon to do a quick episode with us. As soon as we launched the first episode, we got many, many thousands of viewers and many follow-up questions to Neil. And a lot of the questions that came up were, life-work balance and family. Perhaps a lot of people actually asked where they can go out looking for mentorship. I didn't have answers for those questions, and I actually came back here. And also today, hopefully we'll get a little bit of a sneak peek into Neil's art studio, and it might inspire many of you, perhaps get into art and get more insight. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Neil. Thank you so much for making the time early morning to meet with me again. And so the question that came up was, how do you bridge the two worlds, and how do you balance as a person who, a person who's getting married, starting a business, getting into a healthcare management? How do they? How would you advise them to balance being there for one's family and being there for the business, and really bridging the gaps?
Wouldn't you be able to answer that question for them? I think you do the same thing. You got married, you had an internship, you did a program, now you're successful in occupational therapy, you have 3 children. How are you balancing it? It's like anything else. It's tough. It's not easy. Problems come up, situations come up, and if you have many problems and situations in one day, you could only prioritize. It's not easy, and you have to understand, with me, my working career is over a span of 52 years.
Wow.
So when I started, I didn't have children. I wasn't married, so everything evolved. The family came along, more business came along, and as I became more and more successful, I was able to spread out to my art. And I think everyone tries their best, all the families out there, to balance. And you can only do what you do. You have a problem with a kid in school. All of a sudden, you're rushing to the school, so you can't go to work. Your boss might yell at you. These all take place in life. And the only thing I could really advise is try to be stress-free. Almost impossible, but try to reduce your stress. And we could get that a little bit later, because we can do that in the arts, not only painting. Try to find something that will relax you and calm you, and don't let your mind run away with thoughts that might not really be realistic. Oh, like I'm dealing with a situation with someone now, and he ran into a problem with the law, and he thinks his life is over.
Wow.
So each one is different. And as I said, I believe in my first one, it's really a wonderful thing if everybody just has that one person they could speak to. And the reason why it's difficult is trust issues. Sometimes you might be doing something and you think it's totally inappropriate, so you're embarrassed to talk to someone. But you have to try to find that one friend that you could trust and help you get through the day.
Wow.
Sometimes it could be a wife. Sometimes the wife could be the one putting the pressure on you. Sometimes it could be the boss putting the pressure on you. So it's not an easy question to answer, but each one has to try to do the best they can. There's a family I'm involved with 10 children. I don't know how they do it. This one has to go for therapy. This one has to go here. The school buses come at different stops at different times. But people have a way of figuring it out. The one thing is, don't think what you're going through is the worst thing that there is.
Wow. That's beautiful. How would you mentioned two things regarding stress, and you mentioned it a few times. Stress is such a killer, and a lot of people don't know how to handle it. You mentioned finding something you love to express this.
Um, let's talk about different ages because stress in different age groups is different. Someone that could be my age could have heart conditions, diabetes. Stress could be more of a killer for them. Someone starting out in life could have stress because they can't afford tuitions, they can't afford that. So it depends where you are in life. Um, you did mention, how do you find a mentor?
Yes.
Look for a friend to talk to. See if you have a friend. See if you have a rabbi or a priest that you could go to if you are within the church or the synagogue. See if there's a teacher that you could talk to. Some people identify with teachers. I identified with a teacher in high school. Um, Most probably the only teacher I identified with. But there are people out there, and then there are programs out there, buddy systems. There are hotlines out there if you really feel you're in major trouble. And go onto Google and see what programs are available. If you're younger listening to the podcast, um, and you can't speak to a parent, I would recommend speaking to someone in the school system. Many schools have psychologists and social workers. That will help you. And you have children in schools that don't have food at home.
Wow.
I can't say all schools identify the problem. Some teachers do. So it could be men, women, children, elderly. Everyone has that stress. And even if you go onto Google, and I'm a fan of Google because find out what can help you get through stress. I did it last night, by the way. Well, I knew what the topic was going to be. So I said, let me look up a little bit to be able to tell you.
Wow. Neil, can you look a little bit or share stories of how abstract art, and we discussed this a little bit last time, color as a therapy? How does abstract art stimulate a person's mind, a person's state of mind?
Excuse me. Let's not call it abstract art. Let's talk about art. In art, let's talk about color. Many people react different ways to colors. Again, we're wearing black and white.
Yes.
Um, what color can make someone feel good? In abstract art, like in any art, take the Mona Lisa. Some people identify with different arts. In abstract art, for me, it's pouring the colors, watching them blend together, which relaxes me. Art also helps with problems that people might have. For example, with children, they might ask them to draw something or to paint something.
Mm.
And in their painting, they might draw a tree with a dog. The dog might be sick. It could be a simple drawing, but that helps identify a child's problem for a social worker or a psychologist. I had a situation where someone used my art. Um, they were fishermen. He was a fisherman. And in one of my arts, he saw water and the depth of water. And that painting showed a deepness. And he had this fear of something happened when he was drowning. And that painting set him in emotions that helped him get through something. So sometimes we show the patients in the nursing homes different arts, different colors, and see how they react. In the nursing home, if they're elderly and they're more confused, I might show them the color green and have money and grass and anything green. And sometimes someone will point to the green and remember the flowers they grew in their garden. So we're talking about such a broad spectrum.
Mhm.
And again, I want to just say when we speak about art, art is many forms. I happen to be through painting. There's writing. Writing is a way of expressing yourself that you might not be verbally able to do. So that's another way someone could release. And when you express it through writing, it's a way of releasing stress. In the nursing home, happen to work with art, but we also bring in music. Music is a calming effect. Some people are into music, some people aren't into music. Some people are into the blues, some people are into reggae, whatever it is. So we experiment to see what will calm someone down. And each individual, I think, has an idea of what can calm them down. If they can't, you try different things. Go buy canvas. I tell that to people all the time. I met a baseball player. Um, he plays for a professional team.
Wow.
And he saw my art. He loved it. He said, I wished
Mm.
I could do it. I said, well, why don't you just go out and buy paint and canvas and do it? He said, how? I said, it doesn't matter. Take a brush, splatter it, pour it, do whatever you want with it. And I'm in contact with him once or twice a year, usually around Easter and Christmas, and he shows me his artwork, and he's very happy.
It's amazing. It's so funny you mentioned this because I was just thinking to ask for a novice person
Mhm.
who has zero experience, is not artistic, and you just mentioned something brilliant. Let's say they want to go in and try out different arts. What kind of art would they buy? What kind of canvas? And how would you recommend mixing these colors? Like my daughter, who's 5, for example, she loves the colors of the rainbow, and she knows all the rainbow songs, and she knows all the colors by heart. She loves coloring. She loves working with art. Is there a specific type of colors that you would recommend me getting her?
Well, let's be realistic. There are only 6 basic colors. It's interesting. Well, it was 7. When we went to school, we knew the name Roy G. Biv. That was the colors of the rainbow. It stood for red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, blue, and violet. But what happened, they did take indigo out, so it's no longer Roy G. Biv. It's very simple. You buy her 6 little small jars of paint, have the different colors, keep white and just let her blend and have fun with it.
What kind of paint? Is it just
Small acrylic paint.
acrylic
It's
paint?
for a child in a toy store, it might be $2 for 6 little jars. That's what I started with. And there's one thing I should share with you. You keep saying, I didn't have experience with it. I went out and in the nursing home, I wanted to put something on the wall and I bought 40 feet of canvas, and that was my first painting. And I just did simple colors along the canvas and I hung it up in the wall. And the patients loved it. They saw the red, the green, and then I let them use it in therapy. So they would say, and I don't mind if people touch my paintings. So they would go from the green to the yellow, and they would. So they didn't realize that they were actually getting the therapy and walking. They were
Wow.
having fun walking, but they were succeeding even further.
And I can see the sensory aspect of it also.
There's
The
many
visual.
aspects of it. So
Yeah.
take the canvas and try it. You don't like it, you're not getting an expensive canvas, and if you feel it's too expensive for you, wait till it dries and paint over it.
Are there special techniques that you can share that people can experiment with? When you take certain colors and you mix them, you're just having the person, let's say you're doing some kind of an art show or you're doing it with kids. Is there a specific methodology of what you do?
I don't take it as serious with terminologies and methodologies
You
and
keep it
everything.
simple.
It's like in the nursing home, they have pet therapy.
Right.
So I say, "Why are they calling it therapy?" The dog comes in, you pet the dog, you got the dog, and everything. I mean, they do have programs. So in the nursing home, we have different levels of care for the patients.
Right.
So if someone is a more confused patient, we might take paint colors and put them into a baggie, one of these plastic bags, and I'll say, take a few colors, put them in,
Mhm.
and spread them around and see what you get.
Mm.
I just did it with my grandson this week with Magnetiles. He plays with this game Magnetiles, and they come in different colors. So I said to him, "What color does blue and yellow make?" He said, "How would I know?" I said, "Okay, think about it." And he's 6 years old, and he popped up, and he has Magnetiles, and he took a blue Magnetile and a yellow Magnetile. He held it to the light. He said, "Green." So there's basically a few colors you could get, and then you expand. White helps you expand, you add a little bit more, but just go for it and see if you like it. And I gotta tell you something, people might not like it, and it could really be great, so don't go by their opinion.
Right.
I had a painting, and when I picked up the painting, I didn't realize there was so much paint on the canvas. I thought it dried, and the whole thing poured all over the place, and my daughter saw it, and she said, "What are you gonna do with it?" I said, "Well, I'm gonna try to." She says, "Don't do a thing." She said, "Don't touch it, leave it. It looks great." But in my mind, I was thinking, "Well, I really ruined it."
Yeah.
And she's saying, "But you have another piece of art out of it." And the funny thing is someone bought it for an expensive price that
Wow.
and I told him how I created it. He asked me, I said, "I lifted the canvas and it exploded on me." So people might say, "Oh, that's ugly. That's not nice." Why? When my daughter and her friends that we used to have, or my grandkids paint something, I hang it up.
Right.
My granddaughter just painted something and gave it to my wife, and my wife held it hung it up. And my granddaughter said, "How could you hang it upside down?" So my wife said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, you have it as sunrise, I have it as sunset, so please turn it over." So the
Wow.
sunset and, you know, it's don't be overwhelmed by it. Don't be overwhelmed by a canvas. Don't be overwhelmed. Um, yeah, listen, my grandkids are way into art. This weekend, my 2-year-old got into my daughter's makeup. And not only did she paint herself, she painted her siblings, she painted the bedding. And I said to my daughter, "So what did you do about it?" And she gave me the right answer. She said, "I went to photograph it. I couldn't get
Wow.
upset with how could I get upset? I left my makeup out."
Oh my goodness.
And
Wow.
the reason my daughter was able to do that is when my daughter was younger, she only wanted to paint. So I gave her a can of water and a paintbrush. I said, "Have fun." And she kept saying to my wife and I, "Come look." And we said, "We'll be there. We'll be there." and we went in. She got into a can of black paint
Oh my
that was sitting, we didn't know about it, and she painted not entire, a parquet floor black. And we both looked at it, and my wife went and got the camera.
Wow.
Well, what are you going to do? It was our fault. It was there.
Right. That's a great attitude. Neil, what separates you from 99% of the people that are in art in the nursing home world? What is your secret? It's just
I don't get the question. They might be better than me.
no, but
What
what
are you?
separates your success? Your success.
Listen, it doesn't separate me. Many people in the nursing home business have tremendous success.
Right.
Some people have failure. My thing in the nursing home was I always cared about each individual patient. I knew their names, I knew their situations. I told my staff, listen, they always say you cannot bring problems to work. It's not true. I had a sick father, and I took that to work. And I would get calls, your father, he had dementia, he did this, he did that. So I told the staff, if you have problems, come to us. If you have to make a call, come to us. You have a sick child at home. You can't just forget about it. So I had that. Maybe it's an old school theory.
Okay.
I can't answer.
Mm.
Today, um, the nursing home industry is much more difficult than when I started. My original policy book was about 36 pages. Today it's about 3,000 pages. But in regards to art, it's used. There are programs that are called art therapy now. Hospitals are working on it. They're working on how to reduce a person's stress level through art and painting and drawing and other arts, drama, acting out. But it's wonderful. Just go for it. Canvases are not expensive when you start out. And for children, you could get like 12 small canvases for a dollar something 99 and start with that.
Okay. That's
You
beautiful.
want to do something with your daughter?
Yeah.
Take um, 2 canvases, put the paint on thicker this side, then put the other canvas right on top, smear it, and when they separate it, the colors are not only beautiful, um, they come with ridges.
Wow.
So,
Thick ridges.
but it has to be a little bit thicker of a paint, one of these paints that they use in the classroom, not a liquidy paint.
Wow.
And it's another thing, you just play with it and have fun.
I'm gonna borrow some paints from you and try it out.
We do have a lot of paints
Yes.
out there,
I
yes.
can't wait to show the audience. Neil, we're gonna pivot a little bit into the challenges of life and navigating through them. You know, I find that through my own experience and my own life, I've been I've seen many challenges, I'm sure you have as well, and obstacles and difficulties and all of them and even suffering in different points of health and just my loved ones. And I think, and I wonder if you agree with me, I think a lot of these difficulties and suffering are really God's way of making us better people, I think, and also giving us much more appreciation for life.
I'm not going to get into God's way. We're not going there because not everybody holds from that, but I'm going to use you an example. Can we identify or attempt to think what we ourselves might be doing wrong? For example, he was a tremendous challenge. He did things at times, and I was saying, why? And we had to get through the thinking process of what it is I did
Right.
that might have triggered some teachers, might have, and if your teachers are watching, he is tremendously successful. And so teach We have to see what the situation is. And again, it's at what level you are. You could have a boss that's a real and say to you, "What did you do wrong?" and be nasty and make your life miserable. Are you able to get out of that situation to go somewhere else and do something else? I think I mentioned it the first session we had. I don't want people to get trapped in a job that they have to stay for 30 years, they're
Yes.
miserable in.
Mm.
It happens a lot. But it also happens while you could be very happy in something, things can change, and all of a sudden, it's not going. You have a new boss, you have new people at work. Are you able to strong enough to support yourself or to think of ways to support yourself to be able to do something else? Again, it's important to have someone to speak to that you shouldn't be trapped.
Mm.
That's the most important thing. If you feel trapped, you have to try to find someone
Wow.
to help you with it. Um, with him, it worked out. He showed up in my house 15 minutes and stayed for 5 hours, and we connected, and it worked out.
It wouldn't have worked out if you weren't open, if we both weren't open to it. In other words,
Because we connected. You don't
right,
connect with everybody.
right,
Sometimes it's very difficult. I don't connect with everybody.
right.
Um, people come to me for help all the time. I try to help them. Some people don't like the advice I might give. I said, that's fine. People come to me advice, what could they do in life? I said, if you're younger, why don't you go mentor or try out in certain jobs? Go into an accounting office for a week, go into a plumbing place for a week. Try it out, see what you like. If you're parents and you have children and the mothers want them to be doctors, physical therapists, occupational therapists, and the child wants to be a mechanic. I have a person that worked for me. He wanted his daughter to be and she wanted to be a mechanic, and she wound up being a mechanic for a major car brand.
Wow.
So do you give that child the opportunity to go on their own? Or in my day, it was, um, always get your credentials to be a teacher, because if you fail at anything else, you could always back up to be a teacher. I mean, you didn't have as many opportunities as
As you
there
do
are
now.
today.
Wow.
And today it's much harder because children are into the internet, they're into their phones and everything, 4 or 5 years old.
Mm, yeah.
And I use my daughter as an example, but the 4-year-old goes, "Alexa, call grandpa." And the phone rings, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden he's talking to me. He said, "Oh, I just want to be able to hang up on you." And or, um, "Alexa, could you sing Happy Birthday Barking?" And it's an amazing world out there. It's not a world I grew up in
Right.
with. So there are many more opportunities out there. And with those opportunities, there are more opportunities to get help of things that you might need in your life. And I have to tell you, there are amazing programs out there. Amazing. You can't afford furniture. There's a program, I forgot the name of it. I know someone, she got a dining room set. She decorated her house or had furniture, and it's beautiful,
Wow. Neil, I'll go back to what you were saying regarding being happy at the work you do.
right?
What did you do before you became before you started working in the nursing home world? Before 24?
Wow. My father had a burglar alarm company and
Wow.
a private detective agency, and
Wow.
um, so I was working for him to do burglar alarms.
Wow.
He wasn't the most thrilled with me. Why? Years ago today, we have more sophisticated systems to protect stores. But then we used to put foil on the window, and that foil was a tape. If someone broke the window, the foil broke. It was a very simple procedure. You took the foil, you put it around the window, and that was it. You soldered it in. I went to a pet shop, so I took the foil and made it into like birds and flowers. So something that should have taken 20 minutes might have taken 6 hours. And my father would come. So I guess there was a bit of artistic in me,
Yeah.
but it wasn't for me. Then my brother had a window washing company and he wanted me to work with that with him. And he wasn't pleased with my success as a window washer. Maybe I was annoyed. He'd bring the bucket and the squeegees. He'd stand there and talk, and I'm going like this and like this. And sometimes the windows looked dirtier than when I started. So then I happened to have found my niche. Um, an opportunity came along. I was thinking of going to medical school, and I spoke to my father. He said, "Why don't you give it a shot?" And I did, and I enjoyed it.
Wow. And you became very successful at it.
You became successful. Now we have to go to another word. What's the word we're going to? What is
Success,
successful?
right. And it's different for every person.
What makes someone happy
Wow.
versus not happy? Can someone be content making less money
Mm,
and be happy? I've seen that tremendously, great amounts of time.
yes.
In the nursing home, excuse me, it's interesting. The families that had more money, usually the children were fighting and arguing.
Wow.
When there was no money, they came, they spoke to the mother, they dressed the mother. I've seen that time and time again.
Less is more. Sometimes less is more.
Sometimes. I
Sometimes.
don't say anything definite. Sometimes. Listen, could have very wealthy families that are very happy. Um, Sometimes it might not be good for some of the kids if they're with drugs out there or
Mm,
other problems out there. Everybody has their own situation. Everybody has their own. And the trick is how to deal with your situation, not to compare yourself to the Joneses down the street. Oh, look how smart that kid is.
right.
Or, oh, look at that kid. He drives a better car, whatever it might be. Just be content with what you have.
Wow. And Neil, I wasn't going to share this, but the way I met you, I don't know if you know this, the backstory. Maybe you do. Um, I was, I didn't have a plan for what I was going to be doing for the weekend. I got a phone call from a rabbi, and he said to me, "It's a
Mhm.
few hours before Shabbos, before the Sabbath, and Ephraim, Jeff, he knew me as Jeff. What are you doing?" And
I think I'm the only one who calls him Jeff.
yeah,
He goes by the name of Brian.
I still have some family members that call me
Okay, go
Jeff. Yeah.
ahead.
Um, so he says, "What are you doing for the for Shabbos?" I said, "I am going to be home." And at that moment, he's like, "You can't be by yourself at home." He said, "Why don't I set you up with the family?" I said, "But it's a few hours before Shabbos." He said, "It's okay." So he reached out to the Waldmans. I guess they had a
The
opening.
Waldmans are neighbors of ours. I'm just
Yes.
explaining they live downstairs.
And I came to their house. It was kind of foreign to me that I was going to stay by somebody that I completely had no idea who they were. They said, "You'll stay in this apartment." I stayed there. I really didn't know where I was going to daven. So the Rebbitzin said to me, the wife of Mr. Waldman said to me, there are a few options. And she gave me a few different options of where to daven. And I went to pray in a shul. When I was davening, I felt there was a sense of suffering and difficulty and challenge. I was remember speaking to God at that moment and saying, you know, you brought me here. I don't know why, but you got to give me something. Like, I need to figure out how to take my challenges and really just get through them, break through them. I had many, many things to work through, but I didn't really know what direction to take them in. And I remember asking God directly, give me a guide and a sense of direction in life that I could be missing. I'm missing something. There's a missing piece. And I remember at that moment, I turned around and I saw somebody in an interesting hat behind me. And it was my friend Roy Barron. And I could have just ignored it, said there's a lot of people here now. I'm praying and my own thing. But I don't know why. I just wanted to acknowledge and see him and gave him a hug, said hello. And that's prompted a conversation. The conversation was, Jeff, where are you staying? What are you doing here? I'm staying in this building, 1401. And he said to me, you're in this building. Something prompted in his mind to say to me, there's somebody that you should connect with. Why? Why me? There's something about you and something about him that I feel that you guys just should connect for whatever reason. He was really the one who was connecting us. So when I got back into Mr. and Mrs. Waldman's house, I was sitting at the meal and I thought to myself, it's ridiculous. He wants me to go and introduce myself to a person that doesn't know me and I don't know them. What's going to be then? And I remember when Mrs. Waldman said to me, what happened in shul today? How was it? How did you enjoy? I told her I met my friend who told me to meet this man, Neil. And that moment clicked for her. She goes, absolutely. She says, you need to meet him. And she asked, I think, is it Pinchas Shlomo or somebody, one of the kids? He brought me downstairs. I knocked on your door and you didn't answer right away. So I thought, okay, phew, that pressure's gone. I won't be like meeting a strange person and
I was sleeping on the couch.
oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
So as I was walking towards the stairway, you opened the door. And I remember when I first met you, I thought it would be a few moments, ended up being many hours and ended up changing my life. And the reason why I share that story is really because, in life, you never know. One instance can change your life forever in a good way. Unfortunately, also that works the same way, the opposite. So I think it's important for people, personally, from my experience, to be open to different experiences in life, positive ones, hopefully.
Um, you're correct. You're right. One of the things, though, that I do and I don't like to use the word mentoring. It's when I'm working or I'm talking to people, if I expect them to open up, then I have to open up. I can't just expect someone to start talking. I'll tell them maybe a problem I had or a funny situation I found myself in I couldn't get out of. And it takes time. You got to be patient, very patient.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. A lot of
um,
patience. Yeah.
and it's not an overnight thing. People have friends out there. Why do you make friends in school or why do you make friends with neighbors? Some neighbors you might like, some neighbors you might not like. It's all giving it a try, giving it a shot, and seeing what you really need. I mean, we're talking about a vast subject with so many different problems. There are so many different ways art helps people, um, soothing them, giving them the excitement. I think I shared with you one time we went into a nursing home in Rio de Janeiro. Person was almost a vegetable. She just sat there day and day, and we gave her a brush, and she painted the most beautiful portrait of a woman.
Wow. Wow.
But and that was another situation. It was sad working in Brazil because it is a backward country, and if they were giving them painting, they gave them one piece of paper for an hour to paint on with maybe two colors.
Wow.
And even in training my staff, sometimes I'd notice people painted the same colors. So I said, "What's going on here?" "Well, they only put 2 colors out." I
Interesting.
said, "No, you gotta put 6, 7, 8, 9 colors out. Put it out there.
Right.
Let them choose. Let them be creative. Don't close the mind, expand it."
Mm. It's the key. Neil, how do you go, I guess, with meeting so many people, into you inviting people into your home, I look, there's only one way for me. I look back and I think to myself, how would I be able to do that? How do you invite so many different types of
Mhm.
people into your life, bring them into your family? Do you ever feel a sense of, I don't know who this person is? Could be they have mental difficulties. Could be they have, maybe they're not safe to be around my children or my grandchildren. Do you ever have these thoughts ever cross your mind?
No. Um, it's in a way, I'm bizarre. I was on a plane, we were coming back from Israel, and my wife was sitting, and I was walking around, and I met this young guy, and we got to talking, and I said to him, "You'll meet us when you pick up the luggage." Did my wife just come out? Oh, no, Nadia? Hi,
Hi,
good
how are you?
morning.
Good morning.
My wife
Good to
just
see
walked in,
you.
and, I'm just telling them the story of how I met someone on an airplane, coming home from Israel, and I said to my wife, "We're bringing someone home with us," and the guy got into the car with us, we didn't know him, and he, joined us, and then he didn't eat certain foods, so my wife had to go out shopping for those foods, and, we met him, and we became friends with him. Um, Another guy showed up at my house. I don't know how he got here. He ran away from his wedding, and he just knocked on the door, and he was with us for several years.
Wow.
When I say with us, he never really slept here, but he lived here. He came in, spent time with the family, and then just one more story, at a wedding in England, I saw this guy walking around lost, and I said, "Hi, what's going on?" He said, "I don't know anybody here. I just know the groom." And so I said, "Come sit with me." And the caterer didn't have room at any table to put the two of us together. So I said, "That's not a problem. Set up a table for two." And he set up a table for two. And we're very close to him today, Cuppy.
Wow.
And it just evolves. Can't answer why. Well, I can.
That's
I
incredible.
get involved.
Your life is like a canvas, you know,
Right.
it's always
Even today,
evolving.
it's very interesting. You started at 7 o'clock in the morning. I
That's
guess
right.
you have to go to work. So because I'm in from Florida and I haven't seen people in a while, my day is scheduled, like I'm meeting someone at 9:30, then at 11:30, and they're just
Wow.
coming in. So it's,
I can't wait to take the viewers into the backstage of your beautiful.
okay. So let me explain before we go down there.
Yes,
I had 2 galleries, 2 studios. I closed one up because I moved to Florida. So what you're going to see is not paintings necessarily hanging on the wall, but you'll see a lot of art and everything. So it'd be my pleasure for you to come down there and
amazing.
show you.
Looking forward, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
great. So all I do is excuse the mess, because what I did here was we're arranging all our paintings to be shipped out to Florida and around the country. So here's some of them. And some of them are sideways, and a lot of them are three-dimensional. If you put on glasses, you'll see the forest and everything.